So you want to be a truck driver, huh? Well, today I'm gonna talk about how to get into it and how to get your CDL. Some cases you can get it for free, so we'll go over that today. To start, the first thing you have to do, you need to go to the doctor. No, not because whatever health issue you have and it's just that time. No, you need to go to the doctor because you got to get a DOT physical. What that says is that you're in perfect health, or at least good enough health to drive a truck. Your eyesight's good enough, your hearing's fine, and they check. I can't remember. They check for some small stuff and get a little drug test, and it's not a company thing. Like, it's a whole federal law. I don't care what state you live in, like Colorado or California or wherever, whatever drug's legal. Like, it doesn't matter. If you want to go get a CDL, you need to be able to pass a drug test at the DOT physical. And a lot of these big companies out here will even test not just a urine test, but also a hair follicle test. So they'll cut your hair off and they'll go send that off to be tested. I hear it goes back 3 years, and then you have some dramatic people say, no, bro, it goes back like 10 years, and so on and so forth. So just best thing to do is don't do drugs if you want to drive a truck. That's a no-no. These trucks are 75 feet long and 80,000 pounds going down the highway. You don't want some crackhead like driving that truck and hitting your grandma or somebody else. I mean, come on, that's not a good idea. So once you get your DOT physical and your clean bill of health and all that, you're gonna get your little certificate. It's a short form and a long form, or your a card. It'll be a DOT card and a long form. So you got a piece of paper and a card about this big, and you'll take that to the DMV and you'll tell them, hey, I got my medical card already and I want to go and test for my CDL out of state permit, Class A permit. Because a Class A will give you tractor and trailer, and Class B is just a straight truck, and Class C is like I think it's a school bus. But you're gonna go ahead and do that, and you have 3 tests on there's 3 tests to get the permit. So when you go to the DMV and take the permit test, it's 3 individual tests. You have general knowledge, air brake, and combination vehicles. You have to take all 3 of those, and don't worry if you fail it. I mean, you should be worried at some point if you didn't study enough, but go ahead and make sure you get the book before you take the test. I think it's like $5-10 bucks. Make sure you study those sections and like really just go over it with a friend or whatever you got to do and study the book. I don't care what apps out there, I don't care what YouTube video you're watching, how to pass it. It's not that big of a deal. Between all 3 tests, it's 95 questions. Like, so yeah, it's like 100 questions or so, or close to it, but just study the book. I mean, I don't know what videos are out there. I don't know what apps are out there. I don't know what internet pages out there to study. I read the book. It took me a few tries, but I got my permit, obviously, because I'm in a truck. So got the permit, and now you're wondering, okay, what do I do now that I have my Class A permit for out-of-state truck driving? All right, so next thing you need to do is find out which route you're going to go, because there's different routes to get your CDL from there. If you know somebody owns a trucking company, or your uncle, dad, sister, aunt, whoever you know owns a truck with a trailer and everything on it works where it's not going to fail the inspection part of the test, then you can have somebody take you over there to the DMV in that truck and trailer. Then if you know the pre-trip, you're just that good with a truck and you've grown up around the trucking industry, you know it all, nobody can tell you nothing because you've studied this your whole life. Then you're going to go to DMV, you're going to take the test just like you did when you're a teenager and got your first car driving license. You're going to go to the DMV, you're going to do a pre-trip test for out of the truck, on the trailer, and then in the cab. So you really got to know your pre-trip, and you got to use the right terminology or they'll fail you. So you really want to make sure you study that. So after you do that, you'll do the road test part, and you just drive around, and the examiner is going to be in the shotgun seat watching you and checking off, okay, he did this, he did that, yada yada. And then if you did everything right, you get your Class A, you're good to go. You don't owe any loans, liens, nothing. You're not obligated to work for another company. You're just Johnny with a license and you're good to go. You can just run from there. Now, how I did my CDL was I got sponsored by a company. So the company I wanted to go work for, or the company I was willing to work for, decided they would pay for the cost to put me through truck driving school because they owned a truck driving school. And I didn't have to pay them back as long as I signed a contract that I'd work for them for 1 year. So I go to school, get the CDL, and I'm employed for a year, and there you go. I don't have to pay it back. So a lot of places do that, and that's one option. Another option is you can go to some community colleges will offer commercial driving instruction, and I think it's like $500 down, and the whole price is like $5 grand for everything, and sometimes they'll do you cash discount. That's what I remember last time I was looking around before I got sponsored and went to go work for a mega carrier. So that's one option, is community college. And then I think that's about it. I think you really just got 3 routes: either test out directly at the DMV, get company sponsored, or go to like a community college or like a small trucking school. Like there'll be schools that are separate from colleges, like in Richburg, South Carolina is one of them I was looking at. There's this place called TDI, Truck Driving Institute, where it's like separate from a college, but it's not affiliated directly with a company. And so that and the community college, I just group those in the same. So either you go to there and you pay the money up front and you got your CDL, you're not obligated to work for anybody, or you can go to some of these big carriers like CR England, Swift, I think Werner does it, Western Express, I think they do it, but I wouldn't recommend them. I worked there before and didn't like it and have nothing nice to say about them. So do your research on some of these companies. Like if you are going to go get company sponsorship, make sure it's a good company and see what other people say. Like if everybody says, hey, run away from that company, it's not good, then you probably need to heed that advice and not go over there. I went to Swift, and a lot of people make jokes about them, but honestly, I have nothing bad to say. I got my training quick. I got through it quick. Everything was pretty on track. When I finished my training and I actually got assigned a truck, I got a brand new truck, low mileage, luxury features, and I had nothing to complain about. It was a really nice truck, and to this day I still kind of miss that truck. I ain't had one that nice since. But so yeah, those are your options. So what I did, I didn't even want to get my CDL really. Like I wanted the CDL, but I didn't want to go and I didn't want to be a truck driver when I first got my permit, because I was working as a tire tech or roadside assistance technician. So when the 18-wheelers break down on the side of the road and they send out a little pickup truck to come fix them up real quick, and they got the flashing light, and you always got to move over, and you're like, oh man, this guy. But yeah, so I was over there turning wrenches for this one company that had the roadside division, and then they also had a heavy wrecker towing, and they towed cars too. So anyway, when they weren't busy with trucks breaking down, where I needed to go out there on service calls, I would go run with this guy Ernie, who was driving the 50-ton wrecker. And so I'm riding around, and he pulls up somewhere, and we got to tow this big truck and his trailer. He shows me what to do, and then I hands-on just work the controls, hook it up, chain up the axle, seatbelt through the steering wheel, and do everything. So I did that enough, and it got to the point where he would pull up and he would just watch me after I got out and started hooking some stuff up, and that was it. So I was like, Ernie, if I go get my permit, I'm gonna drive this truck. I'm gonna go drive the truck to the calls. And he's like, whatever, you ain't gonna get your permit. I said, all right. So on my lunch break, I took the service truck over to the DMV, and after a few times of not passing, I finally passed. And then I went back one day, I was like, oh look, Ernie, I got my permit. Because back when I got mine, it was a brown piece of paper. Like you didn't even have like a little card. No, you had a piece of paper that just said Class A commercial learner's permit. So like nowadays my friends are getting theirs, they're like, oh look, my license says Class A permit, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Mine didn't say that. I just had a piece of paper. So Then what happened was the company I was working for ended up having a falling out with the boss, and he just like, you know what, we don't need you at the company anymore, and he fired me and another guy, Jason. So me and Jason are now out of a job, and so I'm scrolling through Facebook one day and just going through the ads, and I see Swift on my timeline, and it's like Sunday night at like 9 o'clock or some odd hour like that. And I was like, well, the ad, I was being, smart ass. I was like, well, there's an ad on my phone at Sunday at night, so I'm gonna call him Sunday at night and see who answers. Sure enough, I'll be damned, dude. The recruiter answered the phone middle of the night, just on a Sunday. Hey, yeah, Swift recruiting, blah blah blah. I was like, oh, okay, you answered. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I was thinking about getting my CDL, and I got my homie, and he wants to get his CDL, and he's like, yeah, man, we can bring y'all on, blah blah blah. All right, well, Jason ended up not going because of one reason or another. So they had two locations. They had Tennessee and Utah, and they said the passing rate in Utah was higher than it was in Tennessee. And growing up in South Carolina, I've been to Tennessee plenty of times, whether it's road trip or to visit family or whatever. I've seen enough of Tennessee. So I was like, yeah, man, I'll go check out the Utah location, higher passing rate, and never been to Utah. Sounds pretty cool. Like, okay, yeah, well, we'll get you on the Greyhound, blah, blah, blah. You'll leave out in like 2 days, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, cool. I'm going to go to Utah and go to truck driving school. Well, anyway, I get on the Greyhound and I make it all the way to Salina, Kansas, and this guy Justin hops on the bus, and Justin was kind of paranoid. I mean, he's a cool dude, like he never did me wrong, but he was kind of like he was freaking out that he said two other guys were trying to jump him. It's like he was a tattoo artist, and he said these two guys were trying to jump him or whatever. He's like, oh man, you got to protect me, blah blah blah. And I was like, whatever, because he was trying to sit next to me. He's like, oh man, can I sit here, man? I need you to protect me, blah blah blah. I feel like they're gonna try and jump me. And I was like, all right, whatever. So I'm tired. I mean, it was a long bus ride, so I'm tired, and I'm like trying to nod off and sleep on the bus, and he's over here, hey man, wake up, you can't fall asleep. They might try and get me while you're sleeping. And I'm like, man, I don't care if you sit there and I'll help you out if something goes down, but I'm really tired. You're not gonna let me not sleep, or else I'm gonna try and hurt you. So anyways, he leaves me alone after that, and then we make it to Denver, Colorado, right? And we get to the Greyhound station there, and the lady behind the counter, the dispatcher, or her, whatever her title is, she works behind the counter, and she comes and tells us that, oh, everybody on bus number whatever, the bus I was riding on, right? She's like, well, we lost y'all's driver. And we're all like, how did you lose the bus driver? Did he vanish into thin air? Like, what? How do you lose a bus driver? Well, he has said on his last trip to Salt Lake City, he was going to go home, and he had told that to dispatch, but dispatch forgot and assigned him to come back to Denver, and so now we got to find y'all another driver. And it would take hours and hours for them to find another driver, but Justin, being paranoid and worried that he's going to get jumped or whatever, he's like, hey man, come on, I can't stay here, I just can't do it. I'll pay for the taxi, and I'll pay for a ticket for me and you to get to Salt Lake City. And I was like, cool, we get to fly. That's nice. So anyway, we make it to the airport. We go and we get the tickets off the kiosk. Where you walk in, you can just buy these tickets like last minute at the airport, because like a movie or something. Anyway, we get the tickets, and we get to the part of the ticket purchase where you pick your seats on the layout of the plane. And like all of them were available. And I was like, dang, how we can pick any seat we want? Like, it's kind of weird. Ain't nobody else bought no tickets for this flight or whatever. The plane's leaving in like an hour or something, right? So I'm like, dang, that's kind of weird. It's gonna be an empty flight. So anyway, pick some seats. All right, boom, 2 seats. Let's go. And then I look down at the ticket after you print out the machine. It's like, oh man, these are for next Saturday. No, we got to go today. Like, oh, what are we gonna do? So one of the women behind the counter was like, man, we messed up. We we wanted to buy the tickets for today, and we bought them for next week. Is there any way you can change it? And she's like, oh yeah, I got it. Da-da-da-da-da. She works magic on the computer because she's awesome like that. And she got us the tickets to leave that day, which was like in a few minutes, or 30, it was like 45 minutes away at this point. So we're over here like trying to run across the airport, because if you've never seen Denver airport, it is huge, and it's also in the middle of nowhere, but it is huge. So we're over here running across the airport trying to get to the flight, make it to the plane, and yeah, made it, got on the plane. 1 hour flight across the Rocky Mountains, landed on the other side of the Wasatch Mountains of Salt Lake City, Utah, and we parted ways from there. I got an Uber that Swift paid for to take me to the terminal, and that's where I started my trucking career, is right there in Salt Lake City. It took me 3 weeks, because it took 2 days. The first 2 days I'm in the classroom, and then so that's Monday and Tuesday, and then Wednesday through Friday was like yard maneuvers in a truck. Like, you learn how to back the trailer up, and you go in a straight line, and then you do the offset dock backing, which is where you take the truck from this parking spot and you put it in the one right here. So you just come up and you just like S pattern real quick, and it comes back in. And then another one was parallel parking. You just parallel park the whole 18-wheeler into the space between these cones. We just practiced all that. We did some more of that on the Monday and Tuesday of the next week. From there, we got in trucks at like, I think 3 students a truck, and you had the trainer. And then we just rode around Salt Lake City, and we just drove the truck around and had little road trips all day, and that was pretty cool, getting to see Salt Lake City and go here and there. I think the furthest we went out was Dell, Utah, which is about an hour from the Salt Flats, where they do all the high-speed car races, and you know, we're gonna see how fast this jet car can go at 1,000 miles an hour. So that was pretty cool, getting to see some of the Salt Flat area. And from there, it was the next week. We practiced on Monday and Tuesday, and then on Wednesday we started our exams. So we got to do the road test, and you know, we finished testing out, and then the following Monday we started work. Where we waited for a trainer to show up with his truck, and then we all grabbed our gear, hopped on a truck, and it took about 4 weeks to get off the trainer's truck. And then from there, you would test out at the terminal, at your home terminal or wherever, and you get a company truck, and then you're just good to go from there. My case, I ended up buying a plane ticket from Salt Lake City to go back to Columbia, South Carolina, and that to this day is the most expensive plane ticket I ever paid, because I remember I was trying to get it one day and I ran out of time, and like they were sold out of the tickets, and so I tried to get that next day. Oh, I was so mad, because the first day was $200 a ticket, which that's kind of high, but it's not too unreasonable. Like, you can pay $200 for a ticket and be a lot happier than you would the next day when the plane tickets were $600 for a one-way flight. Oh, I was so mad, but I was like, you know, forget it, I don't care, I'm going home. So I paid the $600, got a flight, went back home, and see, the terminal was about an hour and a half from my house. So went home for a few days, got all my gear straightened out that I wanted to take over the road, and drove an hour and a half to the terminal. Hopped in the trainer's truck. Took me, like I said, about a month riding around with the trainer, learning how to do this, that, and the third, how to log your paperwork, how to do your driving as far as like legality goes, and you know, making sure your time's right. And I got exposed to the actual trucking culture. And so after that month was up, I come back to the terminal, and like I said, I had to test out, and then they threw me the keys to this brand new Kenworth, and that was a smooth riding truck, and it ran good and had all kinds of luxury features I haven't seen in another one since. But yeah, that's my story of how I got mine, and you know, some information on how you can get yours. So good luck to you in your journey on becoming a professional driver. I think it's worth it. I've had one hell of a career, so enjoy your journey.